everybody, Sean Hammond with PremierGuitar.com. We're at NAMM 2013 at the Gibson Memphis booth. We got Mike Volz here. We heard from Ken on guitar there. We'll hear a little more in a minute. Mike, you have a lot of cool stuff going on. Tell us what we have here. Way cool.
Love to. We're reissuing the guitar that launched rock and roll with Scotty Moore playing it. And this is Scotty Moore's ES-295, and it's going to be coming out in August. Very limited run. Scotty's going to sign every one of them. Very special piece. It means a lot to us. And he just played it through Scotty Moore's original old Magnetone.
What year is that from? Do you know?
Late 50s. I'm not sure the year.
Okay.
I know the guitars.
So cool. And we got to check out the foot switch to the amp too. It looks like an old wooden
doorstop. I love it. It's just it's so vibey. And on the back, there's a recipe card with a tube list. And it's perfect.
What else can you tell us about as far as specifics?
Well, Scotty bought his ES-295 in 1953. He was in Memphis. He was walking by a music store, and they had just gotten the first one in. They put it up, and it was a 52. He walked right in, bought it on the spot. And that's exactly what you've got. And we have redone that guitar to original specs based on his very original one, which we have access to.
So he brought it in, and you were able to, did you take stuff apart?
No. It's just, I didn't dare. We photographed it, measured it, and it gives you chills. It just does. So
now,
we're thrilled.
Are the pickups and everything too, they're the exact specs as the original one?
Absolutely the same specs. We actually even come to the down to the detail here where we have the neck support. It has a very different angle and a different sweep than any other year we've seen. So every last detail we can do is exactly right. It's for Scotty Moore.
Yeah.
You have to do it right.
That's right. Were there any other anomalies you noticed with his guitar besides the neck support?
Well, of course, the bridge. The original one had a bale tailpiece, but Scotty had replaced it with an old Melita bridge because he could change his intonation a little bit more.
Okay.
So, and really after that it's quite stock. So it's just a beautiful, cool guitar.
Very nice. How many will there be in this?
81. Scotty's 81 this year, and we wanted to honor him with that. And we'll do it the same, we'll release it the same day his book comes out.
What are we looking at here next to Scotty's Magnetone amp?
Okay, this is our collection of 1959 330s. We've got the 330 Td, Tdn, and the TDC. And what makes these guitars wonderful, well, they were just wonderful to start with in the 50s. You know, Grant Green, you listen to all this great music, and it was on these guitars. So we were just thrilled to do them. We have an original, we digitized it, we had new tooling made, so all of the rim shapes are just right. They call it the Mickey Mouse ear, and we've just tooled up just for this and for 335. And we worked all the way around. The faded burst would be as if your guitar had sat in a window. And it started out
aged by the sun and
absolutely.
sort of mellowed out.
Yeah, and it's just got a great vibe to it, and they sound wonderful. The pickups are vintage wound. They're not wound as much as the originals were, just a little bit less. We've nickel plated the basses, and it gets a warm tone. They're still punchy, they're P90s, but they sound like they've been around for a long time.
Are they what some people refer to as scatter wound?
Of course. Oh, absolutely they are. And what this year on this, you would find on some of the old Gibsons, two pieces. Usually one piece, and occasionally they would have it spliced. And it's just kind of a neat vibey thing. So we're splicing our wood, mismatching just a little bit, and it's got that old
original vibe.
It just does. It just really does.
And that's funny that you mentioned that because we're so used to seeing all this flamey book matching on nice guitars these days, but when you look back at that, it does, without thinking about it too much, just sort of transport you back in time. Like, wow, that does look like an old guitar because, like you just said, I think it's cool.
It's part of the vibe. When people pick these up and you feel the neck, we've actually rounded the neck in, it feels like it's been played. And we've had a lot of comments from a lot of great players, and they said, it feels like an old guitar I've always had. And that's what we wanted.
So these three here are identical, it's just different finishes, basically.
Different finishes.
Well, and we've got the Bigsby vibrato on the cherry one.
different finishes. And also this year, we did a lot of research on original binding color, and we came up with the exact color that was used in the 50s and 60s. So we changed our binding, and so the historic ones have a very light cream-colored binding, different than they've ever done.
Now we've got some finished raw examples of these.
Well, this is for our 63 335, and this was just to show some of our dealers the detail that we've appreciated and replicated for the neck profile. You know, a special heel that very much says 1963. The way the heel returns into the neck was different back then, and we've done our best to match that.
Okay. And this is the interior of the...
Actually, this is the interior. This is the interior of the 59. 58 through 61, they had a solid block. Then in 61, they started cutting what they call a window. So this is really that with the new rim shape. Just everything's right, including the thickness.
Now, was the window cut more to lighten it or to sort of open up the sound, or both?
It was access. What happened was, if you see the window there, before the window, all of the electronics had to get fed through an F-hole. These are the electronics, and imagine having to get those all inside the guitar through that.
Yeah.
It was difficult, and that's the window right in there. And that actually is a cutaway that's on a 63, and what we did, we wanted to show people some of the detail. Also, in the early days, the anchors were very, very long. This is the original long steel anchor. This is what we use currently, but this is vintage. So that's what's going in all of our vintage models.
Okay. How would you say that affected the sound? Just gave it more sustain, or?
Well, it's going to transfer more vibration to the center block. It really will. But these are the details. You can't see it. If you go in the store, they don't know. But it does matter. When we're doing a guitar, it matters to us to make sure that we get the year correct and all of the features.
Now, maybe this is too nerdy of a question, but do you know why they switched from the longer ones to the shorter ones at some point?
I have no idea. It's not nerdy.
Just a question of being able to source the parts, maybe?
That's probably what it is. Most changes were made for production means, or they ran out, or, you know, it was one of these things that you don't think of. It wasn't something well thought out. Yeah. I guarantee it. And also, in the 60s, they use a Black Beauty capacitors, which we have just sourced.
So is it like an oil capacitor, or? It's
not an oil, it's ceramic, but it's exactly the correct capacitor with the right color that they had in the 60s. Early ones were the Bumblebee in the 50s.
Over here, we've got a gorgeous guitar in a very nice case. Tell us about both of those.
Love to. This is 1959 ES-175D for double pickup. We've come out with a series of 175s. They're based from the 59 model. And we've got a single pickup, a double pickup, and we have it in the vintage sunburst, or we've got it in a natural. And they resonate. We've matched exactly the perloid, and we had it aged. And of course, we have an original 59 in-house. And as we were learning how to build it and teaching people on the floor, it was like the traveling gnome. That guitar went to every every station in the factory. We would give it to the operators, and they would have it to work with. Because, you know, blueprints and those are good.
You gotta look at it. Yeah.
And we have a lot of guitar players, so they appreciated it.
Yeah. Now I'm no George Gruen or anything, but are those very common inlays? I don't recall seeing those ones.
No, actually they are. This is the pattern, the split parallelogram, and this is a pattern that we use on the 175. What makes them stand out is the fact that they're the original tone, and the original, actually the figure in the perloid matches a 59.
Okay.
So they were vibrant.
Yeah.
Pearl is almost a little flatter. Yeah. So this stuff with the amber color, it catches the light and it's warm and it's vibrant. That's why you noticed it.
Yeah. And it's got a contrast, really cool. And now tell us about the case, because I think you said a little bit ago that this case comes with the other guitars that we saw previously too, yes. Right?
The 59s had a tan case with a pink lining, and we've had this case recreated exactly. So when you buy your 59 335 and you buy the 175, it comes in a historically accurate case. It's even got the case badge. It's got the right latches. Everything is as close as we can do to really honor the original guitars. And on this one, we actually found the gentleman who has the original bending form to make the tailpieces. So they're handmade, one at a time, on the original form. Every zigzag is a little bit different because there's no machine. They bend them, and they hand solder them. It's beautiful. Now, we're very, very pleased to announce this. We now have, this is a 59 ES-335 Td and Tdn. And we're going to great length to really make this guitar truly honor the originals. And if I can pull this down, some of the originals they were plain maple, but occasionally they had a figure called blister. And you'd see random blisters, which is very difficult to find. We have been saving this wood for a year and a half, getting ready for this guitar.
Do you have any idea what causes the blister look as far as organically or whatever?
Not a thing. This is from Michigan, where they came with the original wood. And that's an example of the back. And it's just gorgeous. It's just gorgeous figure. It's three-dimensional.
Yeah, it is.
It just pops out at you. And like I said, this to us is very valuable. We keep it in a special place in the factory. It's environmentally controlled, and we know exactly how many we have all the time. It's so hard to get. So also with this guitar, if I can, let me show you what's on the inside. Also, from the north, we have sourced red spruce. And red spruce is really some of the finest tone wood you can ever get. It's called red spruce or Adirondack. And it's quarter sawn, and we're putting it just in the 59 this year, and we're assembling the whole guitar with hot glue. So it gets great tone transfer. Neck joint, everything. So
cool.
It's a very, very difficult build for us. We're not going to build very many of them. And we're training just a few people to build these guitars. But it's exciting. They're great guitars.
Very cool. We're looking at the 59 ES-335 here in Nashville with the cool 3D wood. And right next to it is the 50th anniversary of the 6335. And we just want to point out that one of the big differences here, you were saying earlier, is the contour of the upper cutaways,
yes,
right?
That's exactly right. In 63, they retooled, and they went from this large, rather pronounced cutaway to a very slender cutaway. And it's significant for guitar players. Well, you think of Eric Clapton with his 64. It's got the same cutaway. It's a very smooth, very elegant cutaway. And of course, that's when they went to the block inlay and nylon saddle inserts. So again, it's truly a wonderful guitar. It has the same features. We're using the same long steel inserts. We're using the Black Beauties on this, and we've done everything we can to be honest and true to the original guitar. And
next to that, you've got one in the
same thing in Vintage Sunburst. So it's the same guitar, and these are the two colors that they had in 63. So we're very excited about that. And of course, they come in original cases, which back then were black with a yellow interior. They're very, very cool.
Next to the 63 ES-335, we've got something with, I've never seen that bridge before. This looks a lot like Scotty's guitar that we saw earlier, but yeah, tell us about the bridge first, please.
Okay, this is a bale tailpiece. Now, on Scotty's original guitar, this is what it had. It's a wraparound tailpiece. It screws on the bottom, and they used it on some of the Les Pauls, the 225s, and the 295s. This is an elegant tailpiece, and it actually has a wonderful tone. You can hear the difference when you have that.
How would you describe the difference between that and like what Scotty did to his to get better intonation, or what he felt was better intonation?
With Scotty's, you can indeed intonate each string separately, and that's the one thing you can't do here. It's intonatable, but it's like an acoustic.
Yeah.
Or you can move the whole saddle,
right?
But not per string.
So it's a little less precise. But how would you characterize the tone that you get out of that?
Well, actually, this is going to transfer vibration better because it's solid, and it's just got two posts that go down. It sits on the top, and the vibration transfers directly to it, and it's a great sound. It's just a really good sound. And I'm excited. We just had these made to the exact specifications. And as a matter of fact, this is an original one. Oh. I didn't have time. And I've got the new one in the back. We got it here, and we're just starting production. So by the time our guitars come to final assembly, they're going to show up in the factory.
Is this the first time since way back then that you guys have made this bridge available on a guitar?
Yes, it is.
Cool.
Very first time. They've had different versions of it. They've had bale tail pieces in different styles, but this is the original. This is it. Okay. This is truly the authentic replica.
Cool. Now, otherwise, is this guitar pretty much the same as the new Scotty Moore limited edition?
Exactly, because Scotty's only change was that.
Okay. Now, next to that, we've got...
Actually, next to this, we have the blonde version of the ES-195 we just saw from 1959.
Mike, we've stepped around to the other side of the wall we were looking at a second ago, and you have, like, a bunch of... This whole wall is new guitars, too. Let's start with the ES-390 up here on the left.
Yes. Brand new guitar. We're really happy with it. What it is a smaller version of a 335. You can see the sharp horns. It looks very much like a 63, which is why we selected the block inlay. It's got that kind of 60s vibe to it. And like the 330, it's acoustic. So it's very light. It's very acoustic. You can play it without an amp, but with the minis, you plug it in and it just rocks. It's a great little guitar. We're having a ball with it.
Are the pickups based on sort of a vintage mini humbucker, or?
These are the vintage mini humbuckers, exactly.
Okay.
It ties in sort of a new guitar with some of the cool old sounds.
Cool. Next to that, you've got a 335 12 string. That's way cool.
And we haven't had a 335 12 since the late 60s. And, you know, we're a new division now, and we really wanted to spread our wings, and so we brought it back. The difference is, in the 60s, it had a very, very small neck, a little hard to play. They were tight. So this has got a 1 3/4 inch nut, a slim profile. It's really comfortable. And we picked the humbuckers, the 1 and the 2 burst buckers, and they've got that chimey sound. Yeah. It's just, you got to plug it in. It's beautiful. You strum it and you hear songs from the 60s. First chord. It's wonderful. Then next to this, we went back to the roots. This is something we've never done, but it's bits and pieces. There's a little Trini Lopez on the peg head and the fingerboard. You know, it's kind of rock and roll, early rock and roll. You think of that when they were transitioning from acoustics to electric so we got the single cut, 175 style. You had to have a Bigsby. And we use a P94s. We like the single coil sound, and they're reverse wound, so in the center position they're hum canceling.
Cool.
It's just a lot of fun. And we're using this is a trans amber dye. They're hand stained, or they come in the black. Very elegant look.
Very nice. All right, next to that?
Next to that, we have the 390s again. We're sort of capping it off, and these are the more elegant version. If you want something a little fancier, really exotic veneer, that's what we have here. Same guitar.
And it looks like you have a little bit of a range to it, like the ones we saw first, the 390s are the plain tops, but the Sunburst one it's got a figured maple top, but it's still pretty subtle for guys who like that but don't want to be like totally flash.
Yeah.
On the end here, it's pretty flash.
Well, the cherry really pops it out.
Yeah.
And it's that dark amber cherry, and it's a wonderful guitar. We're back to our ES-175s. We've had these for a long time. This is not a reissue of anything 50s or 60s. Standard guitar, great jazz machine. And this year we've just added the tortoiseshell pickguard and the P94s. They used to always be humbucker. So we're going with a P94, hum canceling again, and the black one is just, I think, very elegant. It just looks like jazz. So it just does. It
looks like it could do rockabilly pretty well too.
It would do rockabilly really well, without a doubt. And everybody loves a gold Gibson. You go back to the original gold tops, the 295. So it was like, it's time. So we brought back the 335 in a gold.
That is beautiful, yeah.
It just is. It sounds just like a 335 should. It's got the 57 classics, but we've got the gold paint on there, and it just looks great. On stage, it jumps out. Yeah.
So in the middle there, you got a 339 Studio. That looks brand new in a lot of ways.
It is brand new in every way. Now, we had a 339 for the last few years, which is a little smaller version, but we wanted a guitar that was more affordable, sort of an entry level, but still with the same quality. So, we've eliminated the binding and rounded over, and it feels great. It's really soft. There's no edge. Beautiful feeling guitar. We put a Dirty Fingers pickup in there, and it's a new one. It's very hot, and it's just a little rock and roll machine. It sounds great. Easy to play, and it's comfortable.
Tell us a little bit about the what's going on here at the neck joint.
Well, basically, we have a neck joint. And that's, what this is? It's to cover the neck joint. Okay. Because usually there's a pickup here. And our CEO designed this, and the tortoise shell really sets off the color of the paint. And it looks great. We started with a black one, which we'll pick up in just a second. And it's just tortoise shell and black or brown, they complement each other.
So this is the 335 studio.
This is a 335 studio, tortoise shell, truss rod cover, and then the tortoise shell neck joint, and it adds a little richness to the guitar.
Are these available with chrome hardware too, or is it all black?
Oh, it's all black. Okay. You can get any color you want as long as it's black.
And is the pickup the same on the 335?
This is a new Dirty Fingers.
Same as the 330? 339, I mean.
339, and we actually created a black chrome bezel, and that's with the adjustability, and it's just to dress it up a little bit. They're very subtle things, but they do add to it.
Cool. Now, next to that, we have something that's very cool, because you haven't done basses like this in a very long time, you're saying. How long has it been?
Late 60s. Late 60s for an ES bass. So there'll be 3 this year. And the first one we're starting with is similar to the studio, and it's an entry level. It's all black. It's very stripped down. It's very plain, but it plays great. And we went with more of a contemporary. It's a 34-inch scale. It's a slim neck, and with special pickups, we've got the humbucking pickups on this, and a 3-point bridge.
That's a heavy-duty bridge. Is that is that an original design?
That's an original bridge, yes. And it just seemed to look so good on this guitar because with the ES body and the original style tuners, it looked right.
Now the Sunburst one, is it pretty much identical to the black one in every way except for the binding?
Yes, except for the appointments. It's the same bass, same pickup, same bridge, scale, and when you play it, it's wonderful. North Mississippi All-Stars have the very first one. They're touring with it right now. And they just texted me and they said this thing, he didn't use the word awesome, but
kick ass, probably.
It was, yeah. It's Luther Dickinson. So, do you know Luther?
Yeah.
I have to bring one more guitar around for you. Can I do that?
Of course.
I'm excited about this because I love Luther. I love his family, their music. And, Luther and I, we've worked together for quite some time with Gibson, through Les Pauls, through 335s. He has 330s that he's just fell in love with. Luther likes to play loud. And he loved the P90 pickups. And it just seemed to be the right thing. And as we're going through, this is a 335 with a center block. It's a full-out rock and roll guitar.
So this is a Luther Dickinson signature model.
Signature 335 with vintage wound P90s. This sounds magnificent. And you can just crank this thing through the roof. And the color to us is very special. And we worked on it a lot. His dad, Jim Dickinson, was one of the legendary producers who produced, R.L. Burnside, Junior Kimbrough, Aretha Franklin, Bob Dylan, Ry Cooder, everybody. So we're honoring Jim Dickinson also with a color. He had a 52, 175 that had seen a lot of smoky rooms and studio. So that's why the binding is very dark. And this is Jim's Burst.
So does that mean you guys actually had access to that guitar and you sort of modeled some of it on that? Or?
The Dickinson family's been wonderful in working with us and letting us borrow his guitar and work with these things. Absolutely.
Very cool. You've shown us a ton of awesome guitars. Is there information about them online yet? I know you said you've been working like crazy for the last 45 days on this, so I doubt you were like on the website doing that by hand. But
that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
It'll be online when you are. We're not there yet. We have been doing all of the product building and designing, and we're not online, but we will be online shortly.
Okay.
We're in the middle of that now.
So they should just go to Gibson.com?
Gibson.com, And please check it out. We're very happy. We're very proud of the guitars and everyone who's building these for us. We got a great team.
Awesome. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah. Mike Volz from Gibson. I'm Sean Hammond with Premier Guitar. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a beat with our new NAMM videos.